That's what I did with Geoguessr too. I have like a Geoguessr notebook, and then whenever I like a certain country, I have like, okay, black and white pole, cross on the back of the pole in this country.
Seriously?
Yeah,
That's
and then I like made it into a spreadsheet. And
I
update.
refuse to learn like pole meta in Geoguessr.
It's just
You've got a Geoguessr spreadsheet that you fill out.
Most people that play the game do. Well, to be fair, you can get most of the info online now anyway. But sometimes I learn better when I'm like writing it down myself, like you said.
That's so cool. And you see, you do make notes and you make it.
Only on Geoguessr because it's like one of those games that I want to be. Okay, here's the thing about gaming in general, right? I'm getting older and older, obviously, as we all are.
The rest of us are getting
You're
younger.
like 27 or something, right?
28. But I feel like if
You can't get through a podcast without bringing up a woman's age.
Hello, welcome once again to the In the Lobby podcast here at Guild HQ in London. Now, we've been doing this for a while now, right?
We have.
We welcome all sorts of wonderful people onto the show. This has got to be one of my favourite guests we ever had.
Oh.
Madge Simpson. I'm talking about you. Again, Harrie sounds like Madge.
Okay, but you bringing up Marge Simpson.
So
Marge Simpson with wet hair was Ian's childhood crush.
It's true. Madge Simpson, specifically with wet hair, is my.
Oh, where did you find a picture of Marge Simpson with wet hair?
She got out of the shower once, and it was like. Anyway, let's just.
Anyway, the reason that Ian said this is because I have an incredibly sore throat, so I'm going to sound like this for most of the podcast. God.
So this is how we started the show. This is Geo, by the way. Let me introduce. You know who Geo is. You are a caster, content creator, figure of the esports community. We just saw you do one of the most unique events I've ever seen very recently, and we'll get to that. But welcome. How are you doing?
I'm
Now crying over you thinking about Marge Simpson.
I knew that was going to unlock the memory.
Did you?
I just thought, I was like, no way you're bringing up Marge Simpson. I'm doing good, Ian. How are you?
I'm good. I'm sorry for making you cry. Have you ever had a crush on a cartoon character?
God, I have, surely. Let me think about this. Maybe, you know that guy that does like My Shiny Teeth and Me from like Fairly Odd Parents?
Yes.
My voice. Did you hear that voice crack?
My shiny teeth and me.
I don't know who that is.
You know Fairly Odd Parents, right?
Yeah.
So Chip Skylark.
Okay, right.
That was his name.
Chip Skylark.
I don't
know if-
recognize a face.
I don't know if that was like my childhood crush. Please tell me
you crush on a cartoon. I remember a childhood crush on a character. I had a real big crush on Zach from The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
yeah.
But I don't know about cartoons.
Let me see Chip Skylark.
Hold on a minute. Can we just? Can we bring? I want to bring Chip Skylark up on YouTube. If you're watching or listening to this, sorry only. It's a guy. Let me just show it to the
can I
camera.
see it?
This is Chip Skylark, guys.
Okay, definitely. I don't think that's not who I'm
That
thinking.
is him. So he's wearing red.
okay.
He's wearing blue
He's so
jeans.
90s.
He's got a little goatee. I can see that.
He has a goatee.
I need to think of a better one now. I need to
God.
think of a better. All right, so yours was Marge Simpson with wet hair.
What about video game characters? There's been some hot video game characters in town.
Freaking Resident Evil 4. The Resident Evil 4 version of forgot his name.
But that guy from Resident Evil 4.
main
That's
character
true
in
love.
Resident Evil 4.
What about you, G?
I mean, the whole meme on my stream is that I have a crush on KO from Valorant.
Yeah.
And
Oh, okay, that's
Everyone fancies Chamber though, right? Isn't Chamber the hot guy?
well, yeah,
I need to look
he's
this
a bit.
up.
He's a bit too French for me. I don't know. Like, it's just kind of got that vibe. I don't know. It's just like robots.
Yeah, robots are hot.
Yeah, I don't know. I also did a tweet. It might have
look
even
at
been
this.
on Valentine's Day, actually, which now I think about it is such a long time ago. That was like, Happy Valentine's Day to my two Riot Games crushes. And one of them was KO and the other one was Vel'Koz from League of Legends.
Oh my god. Leon,
You
that's his
probably
name.
don't know who that is.
I've
He's a
heard
squid.
about. Okay,
He's a
that is
squid?
even funnier.
Oh, I think I have a little squid plushie from. That's from League of Legends?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I don't have one of those then. Don't worry. Forget about it. Anyway,
So
Geo, we should get Geo to tell us a bit about herself because so far all we've talked about is which cartoon character
Yeah,
she's
sorry,
got.
that's my fault.
So Geo, tell us a bit about yourself. What do you do?
Well, I have a crush on some weird cartoon characters. Well, I guess like over the course of my career, I've done a lot of different things because a lot of people are like, oh, you're a caster, which yeah, true. But also like I've I've done every single broadcast role. I've worked in, at this point, I think 17 different esports games or on different esports productions. I do a lot of content myself, which arguably over the last year has been not as consistent as it should have been. Yeah. I do a lot of like music stuff. Generally just kind of like everything that I can, I guess. It's probably the best way of putting it.
Yes, and I've only known you for probably, I don't even know, when you first came to work here. It must have been like last year, surely, at this point.
Yeah, I think so.
But in that time, I've got to know you more and obviously follow you on Instagram. And it just amazes me how much you put into everything that you do, because I see you like writing down notes on absolutely everything. And then I've been also following your music
I made such a reputation for myself because of my notes.
That's such a good thing though, because I find it bewildering. Like I play games like pretty much as a living because I stream, right? And I still feel like I do not scratch the surface on knowledge of any game, even ones that I play consistently.
To be fair, say like, and again, like this kind of gets into a sort of like imposter syndrome kind of conversation, because I also, when I kind of reflect on a lot of like analyst or casting gigs I've never felt like the most intelligent person on the broadcast. Like I've never felt like, I've always felt like I'm very good at being able to embellish the things that I do know, and I'm a good performer. Like I'm good in front of a camera. Am I the person who's the best analyst on the broadcast? Almost certainly never. I
feel like that's part of being a caster though, is like you have, even when you don't know everything, you have to kind of pretend that you do.
Yeah, that's why Ian's a host. I
was just about to jump in there because like the past, I've got a crazy November coming up, right? And that a lot of it requires like a lot of knowledge to a certain degree. But like you talk about Geo's notes, right? So I've got a load of notes, but if you ask me to cast or, analyze any of the games I'm working on.
Such a different experience.
The levels of, it's why you don't get barely any multi-game casters or analysts, because you've got to just live and breathe the game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, as a host, I have the luxury of being able to jump from here to there and facilitate those that do know everything about the game. And that's why I always have nothing but respect for people like yourself who you immerse yourself within that world. But that does come with a lot of pressure. And, imposter syndrome is something that I think even the people that you're talking about that are around you, they're suffering from it. Everybody's suffering from it because it's such a strange position to be in,
the funny thing is, so you talking about like, you see the stuff that I post and how much I put into everything. This is like, this is funny, but it's like kind of like personal. I literally like cried to my therapist a couple of weeks ago because I said I felt like I don't work hard enough.
You
and
definitely
I've told
do,
that to people, and they're like, huh? And it's like, it's kind of true. Like I even when I was saying it, I was like, I know that this is like stupid.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely do. I mean, to have, like I said, to have that knowledge of like the things that you do, it takes a lot of effort and a lot to like, especially if you're casting, because I guess that's where my fear of like casting comes from, and why I don't think I would ever do it, is because it seems so daunting to like, and sometimes you must be put on the spot about things, right? And you have to kind of like, even if you don't know, you have to, like I said, pretend that you do know.
Yeah, I mean,
things.
that's what I kind of mean when I say like I'm quite good at embellishing the things that I do know. So as a color caster, so the person who is essentially the analyst of the duo, I when I'm watching a game and my other caster's talking, I don't bother trying to pick up every single thing in the hopes that I spot what is the most important thing.
Yeah.
What I do is I watch, and the thing that interests me the most or something that stands out to me, I will be like, okay, this is what I'm going to talk about, and then I will just focus on that. So I'll follow what's going on with that, like whether someone made a specific play or they did something subtle or whatever it is, whatever else is happening on the screen. Unless something massive and unignorable happens, usually I'm like, okay, this is what I'm thinking about, and I'm just going to focus on that. And so I pick and choose, and then I talk about the thing that I feel the most interested in, rather than putting pressure on myself to be like, oh my God, what if other people don't think that's the most important thing? Well, I don't care. They can cast the game then. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're trying to like tell a story and talk about things that have weight in the game. And there's not only one thing that's going to have weight.
I think in any broadcast, whether it's sports traditionally or like esports or whatever, if you get a role in the industry, you need to find what it is that makes you bookable, right? And what makes you entertaining, what makes you an important part of the broadcast. It's like Ant and Dec, right? They're not going to do a backflip because they can't. But you don't book them because they can do a backflip. You book them because they're going to open an entertaining warm.
Can they do a backflip?
Maybe. I've never seen them do it. But what I'm saying is that like you don't always have to be comparing yourself to people around you because you've got a seat at the table already. And it's like, why are you sitting there? Oh, because I bring this, they bring that. And it's like labeling yourself is actually sometimes a good thing. And like having an understanding of what it is that makes you a vital part.
For sure. Like when I first started in Rainbow Six, which was a long time ago now, I knew I wasn't being brought in because I was the most knowledgeable about Rainbow Six. Like I was fairly new to the game and Rainbow Six has a horrific learning curve and I was at the bottom looking at this monolith and I was like, okay. But I knew I was being brought in because I had experience being on camera and being interesting on camera. And I knew that I was interesting on camera. And so like I always knew like kind of what my role was there. And like I was going to put in the work to get better at doing the analysis part of it. But I think I always played my role well in Rainbow Six. And to be honest, I think that's what worked for me in Valorant as well. Like I you know, Valorant was less hard to kind of like learn or whatever, but I knew I was an entertaining person. And that's, you know, fine, it's enjoyable.
I think that's what's so interesting about esports and specifically like casting. Sorry, my voice is getting so bad at this point. I'm really trying hard. That's what's interesting about esports and how new it is. I can't take myself seriously. Because a lot of people will have knowledge about games. Even like, okay, so whatever the earliest like instance of esports was and events where people are casting and doing things like that is that we probably, at this point we had, you know, people are casting all kinds of things. You've got like different kinds of events, you've got TV presenters, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But then now you're mixing like people that have got into the game and know a lot about the game and also people that are camera ready, camera like focused and can be like presentable and entertaining, like you said, on camera. And I can imagine like at the beginning of gaming and esports gaming, there probably wasn't like a massive crossover of those kinds of people that were, one, had played the game a lot and were very knowledgeable about it, but two, also could present and cast and everything. I
think people sometimes make the mistake of, you know, let's say if somebody said to me, oh, how prepared are you for this event? Well, I'd be like, well, number one, I always do my research, but number two, I've got 10 years of broadcast experience under my belt. Yeah. There's my research. Like you didn't see me when I was grinding, you know?
It's such an interesting point because whenever, you know, if people want to like get into casting, the biggest thing I always say to people is, you may think the fact that you know the game really well is the most important thing, but that's not going to be what gets you jobs. Yeah. Like it's obviously great that, you know, and that really helps when you're on the broadcast and it's a good thing that you know a lot about like that and you have the passion. But the thing that's going to be the difference between you and, because there are lots of people who know a lot about the game, right? Because lots of people play whatever the game is. The difference between you and the next person could be that they have put in the work to be like a character. Mm-hmm. And that means being interesting to watch on broadcast, but also just interesting on like social media and just as an ambassador for the game, because like you are part of that marketing, you are part of that. So like you making your own content, you on social media, whatever it is. And I've met a lot of people in esports who just kind of come in and the only thing they care about is the game. They're not interested in any of the other stuff. And it's like, well, you never want to be the person who's going to be like, that's probably not going to work out for you. But that, in a lot of cases, that can really like hurt.
Those who strike the balance, I just got so much like admiration and respect for. Those who like, you know, where in Valorant, I look at people like Tom and Mitch who like, they're super entertaining, but they also live and breathe the game. But that comes with being part of the regular season all year long.
I mean, I think Sideshow is probably the like poster child for it in Valorant.
For sure.
Like especially as like, he's arguably the best analyst in Valorant. Mm-hmm. But his content is just like another level.
Yeah, it's firing on all cylinders. But what I mean is from a broadcast perspective.
100%.
In the same with like, you know, in Siege, you might not know some of these names, but they're great people.
I tried to, well, I wouldn't know like broadcasters or casters, but I played a little bit of Siege and it's very difficult.
Like, Des and Ace, for example, right?
Yeah.
Know the game inside and out, lived it since I met them. I mean, they were doing it way like from launch, you know, and they're so entertaining on broadcast. Like, 1 minute they can be talking about their favourite and least favourite fruit, and the next they're talking about an epic plant and whatever else. And I just think if you can strike that balance of game knowledge, especially from me looking in from a host, I mean, what can I say about analysts and casters? But like, I can see when someone's got that perfect balance of knowledge and entertainment, and I think it's great to see. But let's run it back a little bit here. What was the game that made you think, "Oh, I'd like to make a career out of my passion for video games"? Yeah. You love Overwatch, don't you?
I do, but I know nothing about the pro scene. I love the game.
I don't really these days.
Yeah.
But that was the game that, I mean, I was interested in working in gaming before then.
Yeah.
But Overwatch was the game where I was like, I want to go into esports. And for some time, I had always assumed, because my degree is in theoretical physics, I had always thought, oh, well, if I want to combine my qualification and my interest in gaming, I have to go become a developer. And I was just terrible at computer science. I hated it. I just hate code. Like, I don't find it interesting. I went and did some work experience at EA doing design. I did like vehicle handling design, which I enjoyed, but I was just like, being a developer is not for me. And that's when I was like, oh, I feel like I guess maybe I just can't go into gaming. And then when I knew esports was a thing, but all of my friends around me watched games that didn't really pique my interest. So at the time, like, I had a lot of friends who were big League of Legends fans, and I wasn't interested in League back then. And I always tell this story because it sounds so stupid now. I was like, oh, I guess there just aren't esports for like first-person shooter games. I didn't play Counter-Strike. I didn't really know anything about Counter-Strike, so I was totally naive to Counter-Strike. But that's just what I thought it was. But Overwatch was a game I was really interested in. I streamed it. I was involved in it. And then when the Overwatch League started at the beginning of 2018, I was like, oh my God, that's what I want to do. And I had done YouTube all throughout my teens and whatever, just like, you know, like as a dumb teenager. So I knew I enjoyed being on camera. I had like been interested in like acting and whatever else. I was always so interested in performance. And so I was like, oh my God, this is what I want to do. And I ended up dropping out of my master's degree and just being like, okay, I guess I'm going to do this then. And I made it work.
It's crazy.
So what was like your first, I guess, casting experience, or your first like esports role in doing anything?
So I was doing like tier 3 level Overwatch, and I wanted to be a caster, but I was really scared of casting at first because I was scared of people telling me I was stupid. So I actually started off as a host. And I hosted for a little while, which I found that I was good at. And then after a couple of months, I kind of like got up the courage to actually cast live, and probably really sucked. But at the time, like, there weren't tons of like female casters. And actually that's why I stopped hosting entirely, because it was a time where, as a woman, you were probably going to get pushed towards that role, and I didn't want to be pigeonholed. So I refused to do it, like, straight up. So yeah, technically started off as a host, but I had always wanted to start off as a caster. I think one of the things that, to be fair, like, at the time people gave me advice saying like I was doing it the wrong way, but I was very stubborn about it. And in hindsight, I also think I was doing it the wrong way. I was extremely stubborn about what broadcast role I was going to do. So like, I did not want to host anything. I did not want to be on an analyst desk. Like, if it wasn't color casting, I wasn't interested. And to be fair, like, I think it's a good thing that I was very convicted in what I wanted to do. But I think I was very scared that if I took gigs outside of that, then no one would take me seriously as a color caster. Which was maybe more of a comment on the times, because I think in like a couple years after that, I've seen women come into esports broadcast from like 2020 onwards, for whom that just wouldn't be a problem, because women are way more ubiquitous in in like esports broadcast. But that 2018 kind of period was sort of back when everyone was starting to be like, oh, we should probably have some women in broadcast, and it was very easy to hire women as hosts. So I was really, really stubborn, and I think like I probably turned down things that it wouldn't have been the end of the world. I would have benefited from doing them. You know, it didn't like end my career, obviously, like my career went fine, but like just in hindsight, like I probably could have been a little less stubborn about it.
It's hard. It's a hard balance to strike again in the sense of like maintaining, I guess, legitimacy in your role. I wanted to make sure you build a reputation doing something, but because it has got evidence of making people more credible if they don't switch. But at the same time, you know, when I was coming up in like TV and stuff, like I did everything. Like one day I want to know what it feels like to be a cameraman, and then I learned how to vision mix and direct and do sound. And
I definitely don't care to do anything behind the camera.
See, that's for me, that made such a vital difference to my career, just because like I had this incredible understanding of what makes everything work. So when I was on camera, I wasn't just a guy in front of a camera. I knew like behind the shadows of like the cameras and the walls,
like what they're thinking about.
I can see what they're doing, what they're thinking, what it takes, the effort that goes into it. Like it's, for me, that was probably something that gave me a big advantage coming in, because like I wasn't coming in going, oh yeah, I don't need to worry about that, I got this. Because if this isn't working, I can't do nothing up here.
It's so funny that you say that, because the entire time you were saying like the knowledge of different roles improves. I just can't stop thinking about Overwatch. Where like on Overwatch, I mainly only play support. One of the 3 roles, but the more you play the other roles, you learn more about how to play the game. Because then you understand how your role could be perceived in someone else's eyes, or in someone else's game or match, I guess.
Hey, that's a really good analogy.
But do you think that, you were saying like you think it makes you less credible, so do you think like in your time of doing these different things, people would like look at you as like a presenter or a host or something and think, oh, he's like also worked behind the camera and he's also done this and that, so he must not be like set in his job role.
His role. Yeah, I mean, I think in esports, I've only ever done in front of camera work.
Yeah.
But I think in TV, you know, there was opportunities that I was having in television where I got that good at directing that I missed out on a couple of on-screen roles because I was so good at directing.
I feel I would really not enjoy directing. I've known a lot of people over the years who've, having come from the YouTube world, I knew so many people who like their dream was to be a director. And I'm like, it's just too much. It's too much responsibility for me. Like I don't.
I directed an election once. So we had
election?
An election. Yeah. So we had like reporters in front of lots of different areas across
an election broadcast.
An election broadcast.
Okay, I was like, an election.
No, I directed a live election broadcast that ended with the result, which was crazy. But even now, I still tinker with a bit of vision mixing with my other company that I do, and I think it's, for me, it just number one, it keeps me grounded, because like my mum's always like, you do realize like you're flying to Japan, you're doing this, that, and the other, like, and she says you haven't changed a bit since like 3 years ago, 4 years, 5 years ago. And I think it's because I always keep my hands, not hands dirty, but like I still do everything I used to do.
Many pies.
I mean, I've always been, it's interesting because I'm like a different side of the same coin, where I do a lot of projects on my own, but I will do everything for them. So for example, with content, I've always ideated, planned, I make my own graphics, I make my own music, I do everything. And like, so I'm kind of the same, where like I'm a very resourceful person. I'll do everything, but I haven't like, when it comes to working on someone else's production, I'll kind of do my job, I'll show up, I'll do my job and whatever. You know, it reminds me of when we did the Meme Invitational, which was in 2020.
It was
2021.
Yeah.
2021 was the first one, which was where the Six Invitational got kind of postponed. There wasn't going to be an audience, so a bunch of the talent decided to put on their kind of own version. And my job was like content producer. And in 6 days, I made 15 videos, but I planned them, did all the interviews, filmed everything. I was in all of them, edited all of them, made the music, made the graphics, like did everything. I've never worked so hard in my life.
That sounds incredibly stressful.
It was for charity as well. So it was a really fun project, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it just goes to show that like I actually think that's a prime example of especially in content creation. If you can do everything from top to bottom, I always see you hustling, working hard, editing, but then
every day I wake up and I look at her story and she's already streaming.
She's done something.
And I'm like, wait, I'm just working up. Stop.
But I feel like also I've learned that I get less done if I don't start delegating some tasks to other people.
Absolutely.
Like I always used to want to edit my own videos. And I can edit my own videos, but it's going to take me 1,000,000 times longer than if I just pay someone else to do it for me.
Yeah.
I'm
you
like,
want creative control.
But I'm very fond of my own editing style.
Yeah.
So I'm just like,
yeah, that's like so perfectly acceptable. But I've found out that I'm the kind of person that I just won't get it done in time, or I won't get it done in like a way that I want it to be done if I don't delegate it.
Sure.
But I've definitely gone through that where like I want to make my own emotes to my own stream, I want to make my own panel graphics. But now I'm just like, you know what? Let me hire some people.
All of mine.
I've struggled even when I put together a show reel. So like I tend to do it in December when things get a little bit quieter.
Yeah.
And like I've tried reaching out to people to do it, and then I had one example where I sent one back and I was like, these aren't my best bits. And it's like, if to somebody else, they might be.
I'll do a show reel for you.
Yeah, well,
I made my own.
Fine, I'll pay you to do a show reel.
Yeah, cool.
Amazing.
I think you know when I'm good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's going to be like 1 second long, right?
I'm going to make 2 show reels. I'll make one of like just Ian's worst moments, or like most boring moments, flattest moments, and then like the actual.
Okay, cool. I'll post the
and I'll charge you double.
Thank you. Listen, let's talk about something that flew up all over the internet. I remember opening up Twitter and everybody was talking about this huge Geoguessr live event. And I mean, how can you have a Geoguessr event without Geo being there, right? But
honestly, that worked out so well.
I kept making jokes to people that the only reason I had been invited was because of that.
But why is this? Well, the first thing I thought when I saw it is like everyone's going, "Oh my god, have you seen this?" Like there's some big names online are all sharing it and stuff. And I'm looking, going, "Oh my god, why has no one done this to this level before?" Or at least I haven't seen that they have. It's just made so much sense.
Yeah, so as far as I'm aware, for context, I worked this event. That's why we're talking about it. As far as I'm aware, basically what happened was like after Rainbolt did a number of his own tournaments, the Geoguessr people kind of like clocked onto the fact that this could be a thing. So the Geoguessr World Cup that just happened was kind of like a litmus test to see if there was an audience for it, which very clearly, right, exactly. Like I kept getting messages from people in the esports world telling me like how awesome the event was, and I would kind of pass the sentiments on to, you know, the Geoguessr guys, and they would be mind blown that people from the actual esports world like cared.
But it makes sense because we all love it. Like everybody
it's just
loves
such a
it.
good game.
I thought it was entertaining to watch, but I thought the entire desk was brilliant. I thought you all were great on the desk.
Yeah, that was also like kind of an interesting one because I don't think any of us have worked together before. I mean, I already knew Rachel as in Zeltzer.
Yeah.
But yeah, because it was me, Bloom, Rainbolt, and Launders. And I don't think we'd ever worked together before, but I think that we had like quite a good chemistry.
For sure.
And it was interesting as well because we were all obviously really interested in the game and passionate about it, but had come at it from different angles. Like I don't know if Launders had ever played it before. He might have, but he didn't know much about it at all, and that was kind of the whole gimmick when he was casting, was that he didn't know anything. But
sometimes that can break, you know, obviously if it's unintentional it's not as good, but when you're aware of it that it's happening, it can make it funnier, more entertaining.
I mean, it was the same in the qualifiers when Parla was casting it. Because Parla was still on the broadcast for this, but he was stage hosting. But when Parla was casting it, that apparently at the beginning, a lot of people were very skeptical because they're like, this guy's not a Geoguessr guy. And by the end, people were like, actually, this was super entertaining because him not knowing anything about it like became like the bit.
Yeah.
Also, I feel like it just makes it more welcoming to people that don't know much about the game too. Like, it's great to tune into a broadcast even if you haven't like even heard of the game before, but then to have someone there that is potentially in the same place as you, as in like really interested in the game or interested in the esport, but they don't know much about it, it kind of makes it more like relatable in a way.
Yeah, like making the game actually fun for anyone watching, whether they're brand new or whether they know the game, you know, whatever, is so much better than, can you imagine tuning in and it was just a really dry broadcast of people who, but people who are just know everything but don't have any excitement or interest or kind of shit. Like, I think the fact that it felt so personable in the way that it was, like really, really helped.
Yeah. But it's interesting because it's like I've been watching Rainbolt's tournaments on his own stream for a while, and he stopped doing them recently, but even when he was doing them on his own channel, they had thousands of views. And this wasn't just like, I mean, people obviously tuning in because they know who he was, because he's blown up on TikTok and on Shorts and everything for a while. But people also just were interested in seeing the tournaments because most of the time he is just there to like kind of facilitate it. And he's most of the time, like, he was playing in it, but he's not like the main component of it.
Yeah.
So these were people that were genuinely just interested in watching it as like a tournament or like an esport. So it's good to know that they already had that like market, I guess, enough to make it happen.
I want more of it.
I'm going to go to the next one for sure. I'm so jealous I didn't go.
Yeah, I mean, because I got a text from Harrie like a couple of weeks before it.
When I saw your name announced for it, I was like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever.
I was literally like, when we were in Sweden, I think we were at dinner, and I said to Rainbow, I was like, do you know if Harrie's actually coming? Like, she didn't ever update me if she was coming. And he was like, oh, I don't actually know. And I was like, that was when I messaged you, and I was are you here?
No, sadly I didn't go.
It was so good.
Good thing, because I ended up having COVID anyway, so it's probably a good thing I didn't book a ticket.
Well, I hope we see more Geo at Geoguessr, that's for sure.
Yeah, I really hope so.
Let's.
Like, it's going to be awesome.
Me too. What are you playing at the minute?
League of Legends.
You're playing League?
Yeah.
Okay, right. So
I mean, because I feel like when people ask questions like that, they're expecting the answer to be like, a new single player.
Well, I mean, I'm playing Spider-Man 2 right now.
I don't play single player games.
all we've
Although
talked about.
City Skylines 2 just came out, and my dad texted me saying an hour to go until it's out.
Aww.
I introduced my dad to City Skylines, for the record, and I haven't yet bought it. So I'll probably get on that, but no, League of Legends is basically what I'm playing.
Well, we play a game, don't we, on this podcast called Survival Mode, right?
Okay.
So basically what you have to do is you have to imagine yourself waking up in the last video game you played. So, of course, League of Legends.
League, okay.
You wake up and you need to tell us how on earth you're going to survive.
Well,
It's going to be chaos in there.
if I woke up in Summoner's Rift, or actually I've been playing a lot of ARAM, so maybe Howling Abyss, regardless. If I woke up there, I would hope that I woke up as one of the like hot anime girls in League, and not like Ornn or whatever.
You don't want to be on.
I don't want to be on. Or Gragas. The thing is, I'm an ADC player, so I always play squishy carries, and I feel like I'm not very good at League, so I feel like what would happen is I would try to carry, I'd be really bad, but because I'm so squishy, I would die straight away.
Okay.
So,
I feel like most people's result in them just dying straight away. I mean, to be fair, it is a video game for a reason. It's not like real life.
yeah.
Which is fair enough. I need to get into League. I've tried it a few times. I played against bots. And obviously
You
against
should play,
bots.
because I was really late to League. Like, I first installed it in December 2021. But the thing is, I have a lot of friends who are long-time League players. So, like, I had people I could play with who there's no way I would have, like, started playing
By
League
yourself.
on my own.
I also feel like it's too late to start League now because there is so much
That's
to the
what
game.
that's what I felt.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. I actually don't really like feel that way now, but that was my fear. Yeah. And now I just kind of like joke about it. But it helps that I watch League Esports. I mean, I was already interested in League Esports before I ever played League. So, for example, Worlds is on at the moment, so I've been watching that every day. Like a loser. I feel like when you kind of like absorb things from even just passively watching an esport, like you kind of pick things up, even if like you haven't been around like a super, super long time. So I think sort of just being kind of like engaged in the culture and community around League of Legends has sort of helped, even if like sometimes there's stuff on the subreddit people are talking about and I'm like, I agree.
You probably learn so much more than like the average player though. In like just your job in general, you're always doing research and like learning new things.
I do have a League of Legends notebook. I don't work in League, never worked in League, but I do notebook where
It's there just in
You're
case.
prepared now.
I just like I'm just very much like learn. I usually have to write things to learn things or whatever. So to try and learn and to become better at watching the game for the most part, like For example, like strategy around drafting or like itemization and stuff like that, because there's so much information. Earlier this year, I think it was quite early this year, I started writing notes about it so that I could essentially study it.
That's what I did with Geoguessr too. I have like a Geoguessr notebook, and then whenever I
So
like
cool.
a certain country, I have like, okay, black and white pole, cross on the back of the pole in this country.
Seriously?
Yeah,
That's
and then I like
sick.
made it into a spreadsheet and
I
update.
refuse to learn like pole meta in Geoguessr.
It's just
You've got a Geoguessr spreadsheet
yeah.
that you fill out.
Most people that play the game do. Well, to be fair, you can get most of the info online now anyway. But sometimes I learn better when I'm like writing it down myself, like you said.
That's so cool. And you see, you do make notes and you make it.
Only on Geoguessr because it's like one of those games that I want to be. Okay, here's the thing about gaming in general, right? I'm getting older and older, obviously, as we all are.
The rest of us are getting
You're
younger.
like 27 or something, right?
28. But I feel like
You can't get through a podcast without bringing up a woman's age.
if I could be sick at FPS games, I would be. But I feel like at this point in my life, it's not something I can train myself to do.
Oh, because you're washed.
Because I'm obviously washed, getting older, and you can't train yourself to have quicker reflexes the older you get. Or at least I feel like I can't. But Geoguessr is only about memory. And I feel like if you remember things about certain countries, then you can be sick at Geoguessr, because I don't need reflexes to learn how to play Geoguessr.
Why am I still cracked on Gears of War?
I mean, the thing
Because
is,
you're
you
just a
kind of
gamer.
do need reflexes in Geoguessr.
Okay, if you're playing it like competitively, then absolutely. But if you're just playing it casual to get like a really good score,
Sure.
you only need your
That's
brain.
so cool.
Sure.
Like I used to say at uni, send me your notes.
Yeah,
So then I can be
send
as
me
good
your notes, yeah.
as you are at Geoguessr.
It's just about repetition. And to be fair, if you played FIFA all your life, then you'll know most of Geoguessr anyway, because just flags, isn't it?
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
Like I said to TN the other day.
Yeah, Tien knows his Geoguessr now. Geo, let's talk about games in general that outside of like your work in esports, and of course you play a league out for fun and stuff. But if someone put you on the spot and was like, "What are your 3 all-time greatest games ever that you played, from being a little kid to now being?" I'm not going to say your age because I'm not allowed.
I don't care. I always kind of struggle with this question because I know what my absolute favourite game of all time ever indisputably is. And then after that, I'm like, oh God, it could be like any number of like 10.
What's number 1?
Games. Portal 2.
Dude, this is like the best day for me.
You two
Is
are
this your
homies.
favourite game ever?
Shall I just leave?
It as one of my
I might
favourite
leave.
games ever. And I
Portal
was,
2 is a masterpiece of a game.
Yeah.
Just like everything. Like the... Okay,
She's
so
ready.
like how like the environment design firstly the way the first game sets up the second game is phenomenal, but the second game also doesn't outstay its welcome. The environment design, the way the story is told, but it's not like explicit exposition, it's like very subtly told and you kind of have to go looking for it. The score is the single most unbelievable score I've ever heard from any piece of media ever, and it's also one of the earlier examples of like music that reacts to the environment.
I always love that, by the way.
bringing up things about the game that I didn't even like think about.
It's the only game I've ever outright written a Steam review on, and my Steam review for it is like an essay. I could have submitted it in school and gotten like an A star, you know, like it's, I love that game so much. And I also replay it like a decent amount, which is such a random game to replay.
Yeah, it
but
is.
like every couple months I'll be like, right, time to go do my Portal 2 run. Like, you know.
I love that.
It's like my comfort, you know, I just love it.
But I think we've discussed this in the past about our favourite games and stuff, and I think a big part of it is that comfort in feeling, right? It's like, you know, if you're having a bad day, you know, you can get your comfort foods, or you can watch your comfort TV or whatever it is. It's the same with video games.
I'll tell you what game, like from my childhood, that I went back and played a bunch of earlier this year for comfort reasons, was Star Wars Lego. The Complete Saga, the one that's like the original series and the prequel series.
Yeah.
I used to play that on
Star Wars.
PS2 all the time. No other Lego game exists to me. Star Wars Lego is just the game.
Lego Indiana Jones is good. but
Everyone
sorry.
always brings up that. I just don't want to hear it.
I've said it now, so deal with it.
But yeah, like I have it on Steam. I just like plug in an Xbox controller and I'm like, this is just, it just brings back all the memory. Like
I need
it's
to
just
play a
so
Lego
much
game.
good.
I've never been able to get into Lego games for some reason. I don't know why.
They are good. Honestly, they don't ever scream at you as like, oh, this is must play. You need to try this. I remember the first time I was like...
Then they get you.
And then you're in and you're like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever.
It's just so good.
It is. I don't know why, but this is so good.
It's a great concept for a game as well.
It's a great concept.
Yeah.
All right, I think we're running out of time, so let's wrap this up. So what I want to say to you, Geo, is this. Thank you so much for coming into Guild HQ. You're welcome. We've worked together quite a lot now, you know.
Yeah.
When you actually look back, it's because, you know...
We always joke about how, like, we just end up, like, circling back to each other. Like, every few months, like, there ends up being another event.
That's right. I'll get an email, that, you know, when it says, like, who's listed in the email, and I'm like, yes, there she is. She is in the mix, and I'll text like, we're back together. So that's the same way, you know, when I got the message about you coming in here, so it's been great. Yes. For anybody out there who doesn't already know where you're at, where can they find you online?
I'm one of those people who has like a different name on every single social media.
Good job, I asked.
On my Twitter, it's just Geometric. My Instagram I changed recently to Geoguessr.
Oh, actually, before we leave, let's talk about the music real briefly before we wrap up.
Oh, damn it! I really want to talk about music, and we just
there's another entire branch to the Geo tree.
Yeah,
music. You started a little music career. You started the beginning of a career in music.
Yeah, and attempted. Yeah, I mean, so I actually technically started learning how to produce music when I was about 14 years old. So it's always been like just a little hobby on the side that I never like intended to commercialize or anything. I just kind of did it. And then in 2022, I was just having a really, really rough time. And it was kind of, it was what I did. Like I went and wrote a load of music and produced it because that was sort of like what got me out of bed. Like, and that's what I could put like actual passion into at a time where I just felt terrible.
It. Music helped.
100%. At the end of the year, I was like, well, I could just like release, you know, I've put a lot of work into this. Why don't I just like release it? So I did on New Year's Eve, I think. And I was actually surprised at how many people were interested in it. That's not to say there was like tons of people, but just like, even just when I post about it on Instagram, there were people who like, people will give me their opinions about it. And I'm like, wait, you care? I'm like doing this random thing. So then this year I've done like a little less, just because at New Year's Eve, I put out a 5-song EP. Whereas this year, I think I've put out like 3 songs. I didn't want to do an EP because I was like, okay, I need some time to sort of like focus on what I even want to do with this, and also just like getting better at certain techniques and stuff. But now I've started to think about what my 2024 plan is. I'm probably going to do another EP, and I have a lot of ideas for it as well, both in terms of the music and also things that will kind of come along with that. And I mean, I don't know if it's like gonna be good or not. You know, it could end up being crap. But like,
you enjoy the process that much.
Yeah, it's a really like it's a really exciting thing, and it's something that has become like a lot more of a passion to take seriously. Whereas just for many years, it was something that I didn't take seriously. I just kind of like, if I was bored, I would just like go and like do.
That's what I love about music, though. I feel like more people are interested in it than you actually think. Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, I've never even thought about like ever making a song or like producing a song, but recently I just like my dad's always been into music and like mixing and stuff.
Oh, we spoke about DJing, didn't we? Yes.
Yeah. I stole his like little DJ deck that I bought for him, and then I ended up buying him a better one for his birthday. I was like, let me just like try, like why not?
Have you tried? Because I've done DJ streams. Have you
not really. Only able to like have people teach me how to do it, because like more people know about DJing than you think they do. It's incredible. Yeah. So everyone always has things to tell you, but yeah, DJing is super fun, music is super fun, and everyone loves it, so why not?
I think people lose sight in a world. You should. I think people lose sight in a world where everyone's looking to drive big viewership and have big social media followings, big numbers, that sometimes when you create something, if 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, however many people enjoy it and like it, that's so cool. Like I remember when in lockdown, I streamed for a little bit. Yeah. And there was a point where I had like 25 viewers at once. And I was like, that would fill
Harrie's
up my...
nearly there.
Teach me your ways.
I was sat there and I was like, imagine if I had 25 people in my living room watching me right now, that'd be quite normal. I was like, sick. That's loads of people that are watching me just play a game right now. And I know that you get that a lot, like, but yeah, so I think make more music, and we want to see. I want to see Geoguessr the album. I'm putting out there.
Geoguessr the album.
Like how people get their music on Rocket League. That's like Geoguessr is going to be the next the next rite of passage.
So G, what was the Instagram handle?
Yes.
Where can we get you there?
Yeah, Geo. So GEO and then Astheno AESTHENO.
Anywhere else we can get you?
Yeah, Twitch, Geo. I'm spelling all my usernames. This is so mean. GEOMXTRIC. Because I really want twitch.tv/Geo, but I can't have it. And then on YouTube, you can search the same. To be honest, my YouTube is just Geo, so you can just search Geo Esports or something like that. It should come up.
I was Chambers Ian for a long time on Twitter until the other Ian Chambers finally bailed. And
did you ask
I won the war. Nah, he had like one follower, and I was like, "Are you gonna dip or what, bro?" And he just never replied. And then one day he's gone.
The thing with twitch.tv/Geo is every time it's not on a channel, but it says for like the last how many years it said this channel was removed for violating guidelines. So I'm like, oh great, is it just in the ether now? I just can't have it.
I also think you can't have 3-letter names on Twitch anymore. Maybe that's why.
Oh, thank God my mum gave me the extra I in Ian.
You're sorted.
All right. Well, thank you so much for listening as always. We love doing the In the Lobby podcast here at Guild. If you want to give us any feedback, you can leave us comments below on YouTube, or you can tweet us at Guild Esports. Thanks again, Gio, for coming in. It's been an absolute pleasure. To Madge Simpson, I hope your voice recovers for next time.
So done.
And we'll see you once again in the lobby. Bye for now.
Bye.